So I go to realestate.com. I'd have a look at agents in the area, and I'd bring up the agents in the area, and I would look for the agents that had sold the most properties.
So the most properties.
At the price point that you want to pitch your property. So
Right.
if I've got a house and it's worth 1.5 million, I don't look at the guy that sold 57 properties in the last 6 weeks for 750,000.
Okay.
First determination is the value that I want to sell my property at.
Right.
And then the highest number of sales.
Faye and Patty Gunner this time
And
C very much as you need to have along the way. Welcome. I'm Faye, and this is Conversations with Faye, and my guest today is Garry McPherson. And Garry is a buyer's advocate. And today we're going to be talking about sales campaigns. Is that right, Garry?
it is.
Okay. What do you mean when you say sales campaigns? What happens in a sales campaign? I presume there's a whole process of things that go.
Yes. Okay, so we've talked in the past that it's a game.
Yes.
These are the rules of the game, or this is the way the game's played.
Okay.
The sales process is exactly the parameters by which we all trade. Now, it's really interesting that as a buyer's advocate, I'm going to sit here and tell you how they sell property.
Well, I want to know, and I'm sure the people out there want to know how a property is actually sold, so that they can have a better understanding of if and when they go to sell a property, they can ask the right questions, because that's what it's all about. It's about understanding and learning to ask the right questions, find the right person that's going to help you get what you want or what is appropriate.
Yep.
And honesty.
Cool. Okay, so when you sell a property, I'll first talk to you about picking the right agent.
Okay, that's a good start.
So that's an easy way to do a thing. Now, even if you don't know any agents in your area, and let's face it, none of us really hang out with real estate agents.
But you don't know them because you're not dealing with them. So there's not much reason to connect with them, is there?
Correct. So let's eliminate the emotion of, I know this guy, he's a good guy, or this girl, she's a great woman.
Yeah.
Right? And let's look at simply who does what well.
Yeah.
So if you go on to realestate.com, once again, now realestate.com
is a Bible, really, isn't it?
It is a source of it's
the real estate's Bible.
It was originally designed as a sales platform.
Right.
But sales platforms have a tendency to gather massive amounts of data.
Yeah.
And that data is useful whether you're on one side of the fence or the other. It doesn't really matter. So I go to realestate.com. I'd have a look at agents in the area, and I'd bring up the agents in the area, and I would look for the agents that had sold the most properties.
So the most properties.
At the price point that you want to pitch your property.
Right. So you're looking at the agents that sell at the price point that you are wanting.
Correct. So if I've got a house and it's worth 1.5 million, I don't look at the guy that sold 57 properties in the last 6 weeks for 750,000.
You look at the agent that sold
3 at 1.5.
Yeah.
First determination is the value that I want to sell my property at.
Right.
And then the highest number of sales. And I pick the top 3 in that.
So you do your research on the top 3
that have sold properties at the value that I want to sell my property.
Okay.
Now, the reason I do that is because each of those campaigns generates interest. Not everybody that's interested buys. So if you get 40 people through on a campaign at 1.5 million for a house that's similar to yours,
a lot of them are sticky beaking.
A lot of them are. a lot of them are still there.
Yeah.
So one person buys it.
Well, that's all you need, isn't it?
What happens to the other 39?
Well, they keep searching if they're actually looking, or they're curious and they just want to see what's on the market.
Let's suggest that there's only 20 of them
that want to buy. Right. Okay.
That agent now has 20 ready to go buyers at the price point that you want to sell your house at. See the logic in it?
Yes, it makes sense.
So that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to step into a market that's already bubbling along,
right,
at a point that you want to sell your house at, with an agent who's got the bubbles.
he's going to do the right thing and get the price.
You think she or he would do the right thing.
Yeah.
But it's a start. So that's predetermining types of agents. Now, I'd interview 3 agents personally if I was
So
selling.
you would go and you'd sit down and have a conversation with them.
They can come to my house.
Oh, yes, they can come visit you. You'd have the conversation with them. You'd actually get a feel for whether you like that person or not.
Correct.
Through that conversation.
And liking the person or not is a huge part of what you do.
Yeah.
Remember, we deal with people, we don't deal with companies.
That's right.
Liking the agent and having a concept that they have confidence and capacity to sell is the key.
And you can, I'm just going to reflect back on selling and talking to different agents, and some can be quite rude.
Yeah, some of them are believe that arrogance and overconfidence is the way to show dominance and success in a market.
Doesn't work with me.
It doesn't, but it does with some though.
Why? I don't understand it. I think,
not everybody has a strong personality issue.
No, true.
And in an environment where your largest asset, or and sometimes your home's not really your asset, but your largest revenue generating item goes to market, you have no idea what's going on. You're not a very confident person. You're in fear mode because what happens if it goes wrong?
Yeah.
And then somebody comes along and swishes the cape over the back, or does the whole Iron Man thing, follow me, I know there is to know. God, it works for some.
It does work.
For the others, it doesn't. It's just a matter of the right personality mixing with the right person.
Yeah.
Hence the reason interview 3.
Yeah.
Once you've interviewed the 3 and you've determined which of the 3 you like, then you move forward from there. Now, during the interview, they'll walk into your house, they'll walk around, they'll point out all of the lovely features, they'll tell you how wonderful it is, how you've kept it just brilliantly, how they would be absolutely honoured if you go. And we're starting to hear all of this, the standard vernacular that you get. And then you'll sit at the table, you'll offer them a coffee, they'll have a chat, and she'll say to you, okay, what do you think it's worth? The reason they ask you what you think it's worth is because if you say, I only think it's worth 1.2 and they think it's worth 1.5, they'll list it at 1.2.
What?
Easy sale.
Oh, and not 1.5.
And then they'll get 1.5 for it, and they'll look like kings.
Oh, okay. These are the things that we have to look out for.
But 99% of the time, people will say, I think it's worth more than the market's asking.
Yeah.
But you always take that shot as a sales agent to allow somebody else to set the price first, just on the hope that they set it so low that it's a walk.
A walk in the park.
Right. then what they'll do is they'll say, right, we believe it's worth based on sales in the area. So we talked about determining value. Yeah. They'll do the same.
They'll go and do their research.
But they'll bring examples.
Yeah.
And here's where the value sits, and this is where your property sits, and Then you'll talk about things like marketing.
Yeah.
Now, real estate agents, it's important to note that real estate agents are forbidden by law to make a single cent in profit from marketing.
Okay, so the marketing is done by the person selling.
No, it's done by the real estate agent,
right.
Organised by the real estate agent,
right.
But the third-party suppliers for the marketing, staging, photos,
all that stuff, yeah.
If they charge the agent $4.50, the agent has to charge the seller $4.50.
Right.
Not $4.51, not $8.12.
Because then why aren't they allowed to make any money on it? What is the...
It was just a parameter that was set in the real estate law years ago.
Okay. And fair enough. I mean, it costs a bit of money to actually market.
Depending on how you market, it can be somewhere between 5 and 10%.
Right.
Just depending on how hard you want to market, what you want to do. If you want to stage staging can be $3,500. It can be $12,500.
Depending on the size of the property.
And the furniture that you choose.
Yeah.
So the things that need to be determined once you've decided that you like a real estate agent and that you're happy to work with them are the marketing costs and the commission.
Oh, that's a biggie. The
No,
commission.
it's not. They'll all come in at the same sort of range, and that'll tell you that you'll market aware.
Okay, so let's talk about commission for a second, because commission is based on the amount of money that the property's sold for. What's the percentage they get?
Varies. In a boom market, high dollar, high volume, it can be 1.2 plus GST.
Right.
In a market that's flat or falling or low value, it can be 2.5.
Right. Okay.
I've seen 4%. I've seen things that they call kickers, where if you sell it for 2 million, it's at 1.5. Anything over 2 million, they take 10%.
Right.
Of that value above.
Okay.
I've seen a whole range of different things. The easiest way for me to tell you how to work out what the correct commission is to get 3 quotes.
3 quotes.
Now, if you've got one at 1.5 plus GST, you've got another at 1.6 plus GST, and you've got one at 2.7 plus GST, what does that tell you?
That's a lot of variation there.
2.7 is trying to take you for a ride.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, if they're trying to take you for a ride,
they'll take everyone for a ride.
What's it going to be like on auction day?
Well, we've already talked about auctions and what goes on in an auction. So, yeah.
So, from that point there, you can work out roughly where the comps sit. Now, you can go to 2.7 lady and say to her, hey, look, I love you, I'd love to work with you, but everybody else is 1.6, and you watch how quickly they'll come back.
Oh, yeah, because they want the same.
They want the same.
Yeah.
So it's up to you how you play that. But if you ask 3, you'll get an average. And it's not about getting an average, it's about getting a more a mean, a consistency number, and looking at the outliers and determining why the outliers are outliers. It'll still give you market rates.
Okay.
Marketing should be relatively the same. Commissions should be relatively the same. From there on, it's a standard campaign.
What's a standard campaign?
Okay, in the first week, once you sign, so they'll send you an authority, and the authority will say, this is how much we intend to sell it for, roughly. This is what our commission is. This is what our advertising and marketing schedule looks like. We now have exclusive authority to list it and sell it. Right. So if it sells to anybody else, we still get a commission. And it will be for 30, 60 or 90 days. Now, I would suggest if anybody is looking at signing an agreement, that it's normally 30 days for the agreement.
Right.
Or 45, depending if there's an auction or whatever it might be.
Okay.
If it fails to sell at auction, there's a standard renewal of 30.
Can you say no? You don't want to renew it?
No, you can say no before.
The 30 days?
No, before you sign the authority.
Right. So if you sign the authority, you've made that commitment.
It's 30 days plus 30 days.
30 days plus 30 days. Okay.
Now, it doesn't cost you any extra for those extra 30 days.
Right.
But what it does mean, though, is that for 60 days, that agent has control of your property.
I don't know whether I like that sound of control.
It's what it is. They have to control the property to sell it.
Yeah.
What most agents will do, here's the nugget in the dirt. Here's your little piece of gold.
Right.
What most agents will do is in that extension period, instead of slipping in 30 days, they'll slip in 60 days. So they'll have it for 3 months. Now, don't
do that.
Call back to 60. So
you were listening to this. Don't do 90 days, do 60 days.
No. And the reason I say that is because after 2 months online and on market, if your property hasn't sold, it's starting to go stale. If you let it run for another month after that, it will go very stale and the numbers just won't stack.
And people will look at it and say it's been on the market for so long. What's the reason it's not selling?
What's wrong with it?
What's wrong with the property? What's wrong with the house, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. Yeah. So you've got to do your due diligence, don't you?
Well, this is what due diligence is. Meet the agents, work out their commission rates, work out their marketing rates. Make sure that when they send you an authority, it's for 30 plus 30.
30 plus 30, not 30 plus 60.
Correct.
Right.
And then away you go. Now, in the first week, what they'll do is they'll have the ad copy written. They'll get a photographer out there and shoot a whole heap of photographs. They'll put a stager through it, all that sort of stuff. This is provided the place is clean, doesn't need any work.
Yeah.
So they'll prep it all in the first week, and then at the end of that first week, they'll do their first open.
Okay. And all that work that's done, the person that's selling pays for that?
Pays for it, doesn't do it though.
Doesn't do it, just pays for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
At the end of the first week, they do their first open, and they'll run effectively 4 weeks of open, or 3 weeks of open, and on the fourth week, they'll have the auction.
Right.
So normally your sales cycle runs for about 30 days.
30. Okay, so you've got people walking in through your house for a month.
Mm-hmm. For a month. But you need it for a month.
Yeah. Okay.
And the reason you need it for a month is when you look at all of the things that people do when they buy. So they show up in the first or the second week. Mm-hmm. They go away, they think about it, they go, you know what, I really like that, but I'd like to go back for a second look. So they'll go back for a second look, they'll walk through it, they'll spend even more time.
Yeah.
And then they'll say, hey, look, I really like this. I think we might go for it. Let's organise a building and pest inspection.
Yeah.
So there's your third week.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And then the building and pest comes back and it's fine. And then in the last week before auction, they go to their broker and they say, just double checking, are our numbers stacking up? Are we all set to go today? So it's 4 weeks for the average person.
So the process, yeah.
To follow the process.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting to note here, and I'm not gloating, but this is just industry. This is just industry. I can get that whole thing done in 48 to 72 hours.
Yeah. The shorter period of time, the less stress there is because, you know, when you're preparing for people to come through the house, and some, you know, may make bread so the house smells nice and do this or do that. So there's something that people feel, oh, this feels good. You know, all the things that they do to actually encourage people to feel good inside the house.
Well, the other side of the coin is that if you show up and in 72 hours you've organised a building and pest inspection, had section 32 read, determined the value, and gone straight back to the owner and said, right, we'll buy it now for X. And they say, well, we probably want to let it run to, we'll buy it today for X, or we'll go and buy something else.
Right. And what's a section 32? Section
32 is the section 32 of the Real Estate Act.
Right.
Which states that a vendor must deliver a vendor statement detailing all of the particulars of the property.
Right.
So rates, electricity, gas, water, whether there's going to be any road works, what the title looks like, whether there's owner's corp, if there's an owner's corp, what the
costs and things are.
Not so much the costs, the annual general meeting giving you all of the details of any of the background, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So all of the particulars pertaining to the property. It's interesting to note other states do things differently. Queensland, it's on the buyer to get all of that, not on the seller.
Oh, okay.
Right? So Vic is pretty cool with the way they've set stuff up.
Right.
So Section 32 is a document that you'll read.
Right, okay.
Right? Or that your conveyancer will read.
Right.
That will tell you whether there's any red flags with the property.
And they'll see them if there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as an agent, you've got 4 weeks that you're running opens. Every day, every open you stand at the front door, people will come in, hi, can I have your mobile number, can I have your email address? That's building the real estate agent's database. That goes back to what we were talking about before with the agent that has the most sales at your dollar value.
Yes.
Because they then have the biggest database at your dollar value.
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't go and see a $2 million property. There's 2 reasons you'll see a $2 million property. A, I'm sticky beaking.
Which I probably would.
Or B, I have $2 million. So they'll stand at the door, they'll gather all that information, they'll build a database. At the end of every Saturday, they'll ring everybody that walked through and said, can you tell me what you thought? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it indifferent? What did you like? What didn't you like? What would stop you from buying what?
What are you actually looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I give any feedback to the owner?
Oh, okay.
Right. Now,
don't think I've ever been asked that one.
Yeah. Or you trust me, you would have, and they've just asked it in a different way. So then you give feedback. They take all of that, they compile it into a data analysis report, and they give it to the vendor, the seller, every week. So the seller gets a list and it says, we had 30 people through, 6 of them wanted section 32 and follow-up calls. Everybody else didn't care. The biggest feedback was that your kitchen was pink and no one likes a pink kitchen.
Well, that can be changed.
Exactly.
Reasonably easy.
But it's also a very strong thing if you get 4 weeks of nobody likes a pink kitchen, and then you're standing there at auction and you're $50,000 below reserve, and you say to the vendor, the only reason we didn't get the extra 50 is because your kitchen's pink. We've told you every week.
They could have changed it in that time.
They wouldn't have changed. Nobody changes a kitchen in 4 weeks. But the point is, it's a leverage point.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Data, analytics, feedback, opinions, they're all leverage points.
Right, okay.
So the real estate agent will run that for 4 weeks. All that feedback goes back to the agent. Let's assume that it makes it all the way through to the auction. In Victoria, if you buy a property 3 days before auction or 3 days after auction. Okay. So from the Wednesday to the Wednesday.
Auctions are usually held on a Saturday.
Correct, but Saturday and Sunday aren't business days.
Right, okay.
So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, business day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, business day.
Right, yeah.
That period is effectively auction period.
So anyone can go in from the Wednesday prior to the auction and say, I want to buy it.
No, you can do that at any stage of the campaign.
Right.
But if you do it between that Wednesday and the following Wednesday,
right,
it's under auction conditions. No cooling off, unconditional contracts. Unless negotiated.
Okay. So the commitment to that is you wouldn't be able to get out of it if you...
Yeah, you're done. It's the same as if you stood there at auction day.
And you bid and you were the only bidder and
Correct.
You have to buy it.
Correct. It's the same as if you did that at auction day. So just be warned, if you make offers 3 days before or 3 days after, you're in an unconditional period unless negotiated.
Unless negotiated. So what does that mean?
So if I bought one on a Thursday after auction, sorry, Tuesday after auction.
Right.
And I said I want a 14-day finance clause and a building and pest inspection.
Right.
I have no cooling off, but I've still got 2 weeks finance clause and 2 weeks building and pest. If either of those don't stack up, we can step out of the contract.
Right, okay. So you can protect yourself there, but you have to be aware of that. How many people would be aware of that?
Depends on how many people are watching your show now, Faye.
Well, you have to take note of this, guys, because, you can get caught quite easily, can't you?
Well, now they can't.
Well, no, you shouldn't be.
Now they know.
What else do we need to know about, when we're doing a sales campaign as the seller? What else do we need to be aware of?
Nothing else right up until auction.
Nothing else right up until auction. What if you decide you don't want to go to auction?
You want to do a private sale?
Yeah.
Okay, so realistically, at any point in time, there can be a trigger number that'll sell it.
So what do you mean by that?
It could go in the first week, it could go in the fourth week, it might. And most private sales occur in markets that are flat or depressed.
An auction is when the market is high.
When the market's got some buoyancy about it, when it's got some confidence, you take it to auction.
And when it hasn't, you then... Private sale. But you have to be aware of that, don't you?
Your agent will be aware of that.
Right, and he should tell you.
Yeah, he or she should tell you specifically how to run the campaign, what gets the best results.
Right.
You're paying for expertise.
Well, yes, you are paying for expertise. There's so many things really, and it's not large things that you need to be aware of. It's all the little bits and pieces along the way that you need to be aware of up front.
Yeah.
So therefore, if your real estate agent doesn't tell you, do you then step into asking a property advocate?
So here's the other thing that you can do. There's a niche in the market now referred to as vendor advocates.
Vendor advocates, yes.
Okay, so the vendor advocate will sell your property or work with you to sell your property.
Right.
But they won't sell it.
The agent will.
And they sit between you and the agent.
Right.
So all of this information that I'm giving now, a good vendor ad has.
And they will inform you so that you're on the ball all the time.
Exactly right. You literally ring the vendor ad and say, can you sell my house? And they'll say, not a problem. They'll do the research, they'll organise the 3 agents, they'll sit through the interviews with you, you'll select an agent that you like, they'll engage them, they'll get you to sign the paperwork, they'll coordinate all of the marketing, they'll follow up all the data after all of the opens, they'll do everything that we've talked about.
And that saves a lot of headaches.
It does, and it adds no cost, theoretically, to the transaction.
Right, so let's take it to someone who wants to buy. So you have a buyer's advocate which will do same or similar to what a vendor's advocate does.
So a vendor's advocate is the liaison between the selling agent and the vendor.
Right. Yep.
A buyer's agent
works
directly for the buyer.
Yes.
As the buyer.
As the buyer. Okay. Explain that a little bit more.
Okay, so where a vendor's agent doesn't effectively organise marketing, liaise with customers, generate a database, any of that, they effectively just control the data flow,
right,
and the emotion flow.
Yeah, which is a good thing.
A buyer's agent actively goes to market, sources property, does negotiation, reads contracts to make sure that there aren't any bits and pieces that are of any trouble, walks you through all the listings, keeps the agent out of your hair, and literally acts as you.
Right. Okay.
Acts on your behalf. So in order to be a real estate agent, you need to have a license to act on behalf of a third party in a transaction of real estate.
So in a sales campaign, you need to be aware of the research that you need to do, the agents, interviewing three agents. Selecting the agent that you feel good with, not them suggesting themselves. If you're selling your house, get a vendor advocate.
If you can,
get a vendor advocate which can do all the work for you and support you all the way through the sale, the campaign. And if you're buying, get yourself a buyer's advocate who can do all that work for you, do the research, find the properties, and do all that sort of thing. And if you want to know more about that, then you can have a talk to Gary and ask him the questions, and he will give you the honest answers and steer you in the right direction for what you need to know about a sales campaign. Is that right, Gary?
100%.
Thank you, Gary. Been another informative conversation that we've had, and we'll be back again for another one.
Look forward to it, Faye. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Faye, and this has been a conversation with Faye, and we'll be back again with another conversation. Bye for now. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. Stay inspired, stay connected, and join our amazing community today.